Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Let's do the jumping right into it thing. What I'm going to be doing today. Ooh, I got to show that disclaimer thing before I show you what I got going here. What's cooking? Isn't that what they say? Right? Too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many cooks spoil the broth. Man, I was using some of that chicken broth last night. I made some chicken tortilla soup. Well, actually, I added the chicken into the kit and then the chicken stock and cooked it up, and it was delicious. Focusing on loving the Lord today on the Lord's Day, we're going to be. I showed the disclaimer. I really think there's only a couple of pictures. Let's get those out of the way. Oh, wow. The romantic picture of gold mining. Picture it right now. You see the guy, he's even got a plaid shirt and a hat on. 1 foot in the river. Are you kidding? It's the same picture everybody sees, and he's like panning for gold. Very romantic picture of gold mining process. Hey, there's a nugget. The reality is that gold is typically recovered from ores containing 10 parts per million. That's like colloidal silver. I drink colloidal silver. Well, colloidal silver, that's not very much. It's only 10 parts per million. Well, thus it's been a challenge. We see cyanide process, leach, sodium cyanide, heap leach. I don't have time to get into them. This is a review for a lot of people, but some people have just been like, "What? You're recovering, going back to the stones? Okay, I remember something about blah blah blah, walking to the gold. Oh, there was this. So this was that picture, 1556." Smelting ore is so hard. Forget the romantic picture, would you? What's with it's always got to be so romantic all the time with the romance? Let's just go back over here. I'm going to go in the reverse order while I was waiting to do this video because, the Lord was like, "Hey, we're talking about this today." And they're like, "Okay." So gearing up for my school, I'm bracing to fight back against the feminists and the humanists and the new ABC group. What's the new ABCs? Anything but Christ. It goes back 700 years. She's been blabbering on, and here's what she said when I left off.
Well, what can we do? This is just, obviously God wanted to do this. He had his reasons. It's no good hoping that somehow we can do anything there's not a lot we can do against earthquakes, but there are things that we could do to build better or to have.
If I remember right, this might have been the Armageddon. He was writing about the destruction of Lisbon or something like that. Anyway, the humanists, they got it all figured out. This guy wrote a poem about Africa, and they wanted to return the descendants and again in the former pure radiance. Where's that even come from? Anything but Christ.
But there's also the sense that they found consolation in the past. So consolation in all this literature and what the great minds.
Yeah, they found a lot of great books. Now, and she did get right back into this stuff, vindication on the rights of women. You always hear about Mary Wollstonecraft, vindication of the rights of women. It's like we aren't treated like human enough. Men weren't treated like human enough back then, baby. It was still the 1% that got to vote. And it wasn't the normal men that would say, "I don't vote for keeping me a slave." Who votes to stay a slave? I do. And this false sympathy. Oh, the Bible teaches that women aren't human. Are you kidding me? Who's eating the Passover together as a family for the first time? Who's baptizing women? Thank you, Jesus. There's been one religion that has helped and loves women, but they miss it and they obfuscate it. They want you to hate Christ, but enough. Today's topic is gold. What does the Bible say? Is it hard to I don't know. Let's see. Jeremiah 9, verse 7 in the New King James Version. Thus says the Lord of hosts, behold, I will refine them and try them, for how shall I deal with the daughter of my people? Okay. Refining is kind of like, that's a definitely, well, that's a gold mining type of a situation. Refine the gold. Ezekiel 22:18 in the English Standard Version. Son of man, the house of Israel has become dross to me. All of them are bronze and tin and wow, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the furnace metals, 4 furnaces, and somehow they are dross of silver. Huh, crazy. Let's flesh that out. 22:18. We read it. Well, we'll start at 17. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, the house of Israel has become dross to me. All of them are bronze and tin and iron and lead in the furnace. They are dross of silver. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, because all have become dross, therefore I will gather you in the midst of Jerusalem. Okay, now pay attention because we're going to go over this in massive detail. I will gather you in the midst of Jerusalem. Oh my goodness. I wonder if it was like a patio, these things. Oh, it's so gross the way it was gross. It was really bad. As one gathers silver and bronze and iron and lead and tin into a furnace to blow the fire on it in order to melt it with a probable fervent heat implied. So I will gather you in my anger and in my wrath, and I will put you in and melt you. Wait till you see what this entails. I will gather you and blow on you with the fire of my wrath. That increases oxygen, makes the heat get heatier, hotter. As silver is melted in the furnace, so you shall be melted in the midst of it. And then the one thing that, either your eyes are going to be open or not, and you shall know that he is the Lord. And personally, you don't get your name blotted out, and then we'll witness this wrath, and it's not going to be like, yay, this is fun, but it's better than going like, okay, I'll worship a false god, and then still getting all this wrath. Here's another Bible verse, Isaiah chapter 1, verse 25. Oh, in the Berean Standard Bible, I will turn my hand against you. I will thoroughly purge your dross. It's a somehow wait till you see this complicated alchemy that goes into removing impurities. I know how to say the word impurities and remove, just not together. Here's another one, Job 28. Let's just look at it in, Job 28. Surely there is a mine for silver and a place for gold that they refine. Iron is taken out of the earth, in case you didn't know it, because the Bible is written to us as, how to communicate with us on our level. Iron is taken out of the earth. We collectively go, that makes sense. And copper is smelted from the ore. And then we go, whatever that means. Man puts an end to darkness and searches out the farthest limit The ore in gloom and deep darkness. He opens shafts in a valley, not just, well, in a valley away from where anyone lives, because they're going to poison all the ground, I think. They are forgotten by travelers. They hang in the air, far away from mankind. They swing to and fro. As for the earth, out of it comes bread. But underneath, it is turned up as by fire. Now, you as a living stone need to take to heart this verse 6, because once we're saved, God has, like, we're those stewards now, that you're in charge of your life, the things that live in you, and by doing good things that glorify the name of Jesus Christ, you will, as it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, 12 through 20, I think it's in that area, you are living stones. And by your works, you either build up gold, silver, and precious stones, or that highly flammable wood, hay, and stubble. Verse 6 says, its stones are the place of sapphires, and it has the dust of gold, because all the stones, all the rocks are body parts of those reserved in the past for judgment. And what they're reserved for that final fire. Great white throne. Death and hell get thrown in the lake of fire. We're with Satan. We're the beast and the false prophet have been for the 1,335 years. Come on, that's enough. But flinty rocks, cuts out channels in the rocks. The Bible expects us to understand that they knew how hard this was and what this entailed. We're the ones that had the picture of the prospector, kneeling there, panning for gold. Did you see the donkey in the background? Why is that guy keeping his donkey loaded when come on. What is mercury? It's something they use to extract gold. Last year, 300 million tons. I believe, I'm going to take that back. We'll find out. But it's just a boatload of silver. And it's always just like, okay, it's atomic number 80, but what does that even mean? Well, what they say is it occurs in deposits throughout the world, mostly as cinnabar. That sounds yummy. Mercury sulfate. The red pigment vermilion is obtained by grinding it. I mean, it has to be ground to powder. I mean, powder, powder, powder. So you don't want this because it kills you somehow. It's not good. The way they do it, I don't know if there's a good way to do it, but the way they do it, it just kills you and the ground. And we Adams, we Adam, the reason that the men were created in our second creation was to cultivate the earth. It means love the earth. You don't become a tree hugger. Become one. I don't know what that means, but be one. Mercury's weird, right? Low melting points. Hey, let's just look at that special discharge calibration lamp for frequencies, maybe, huh? Well, who made that the planet Mercury symbol? I don't accept it. I want a different. Well, there's some cinnabar. You got to grind that up into like super powder and then dump mercury on it. And it's getting more expensive. That's how it works in your thermostats. Don't want those in your teeth, I don't think. Mercury's weird, but there's just so much. And I guess it's a poison. Enough about mercury. Kinerite. Okay. I guess there's some gold in there. Triple Creek. Hey, that's just a stone throw away from me. Just another way at Teller County, Colorado. Man, you talk about the middle of nowhere. Anyway, it was discovered in 1878. They had run out of all of the different ways to extract gold that we're going to be going over, and so somehow cyanide came into the situation. And the silver mines, they could separate it, and they were finding gold in Colorado. I don't know how, what they're same thing. Body parts are body parts of the rocks and stuff. They are all chemically the same, but sometimes different colors could be the diet, of what they were eating. So about that. Printerite. KR. Printerite. You might even, I wonder if you just step the K and go, Printerite. Petzite. Petzite's another one of these things that, these are the ones that are the late comers. This was discovered, around these years. And so, hey, this is another one that it takes cyanide to get at that gold in that. So you got to grind it up. Trust me, there's no gold that size. We're talking. They're looking for dust particles, but where there's pyrite, there's gold. No pyrite, there's no gold there. Usually, that's what I've heard. But you know why they call it veins? Because it's your vein. It was not your veins. It's how our veins look as it runs over that in between the muscles and everything else. I didn't have time to look up all these other ones, but I did look up these. Yeah, yeah. That looks weird for gold. You got to grind it to a powder. And then you might find slightly more than the 10 parts per million, which is like when they process poop I think they get 10 parts per million. Another one of I just thought I'd want to nag you with one more. Here you go. We're now just, okay. This is another one. Does that, there's a vein. This was actively firing electric current and signals. I hope I'm sharing. Okay, good. There's been times when I would have talked that long and not been sharing, and people had to call me. Like, Paco, you are not sharing again. Like, most of the time I share. Transylvania, Sylvania, Sylvania. I've heard of Sylvania. That's like they make appliances, or is that a manna? Tellurides are the small little, I mean, they're trapped in the little. So, but don't worry, cyanide can extract the tellurides. They moved to Colorado around this town where the first hydroelectric from the Nikola Tesla. You ever hear of that guy? He had a funny little mustache and a quirky little smile, and he put a hydroelectric thing there on the Bridal Falls in the like 1880s, early 1890s. It's still working, but they. Well, are you going to show me a Telluride crystal? What the heck, man? Not even. Oh, this is just the chemistry. And you know what else was jumping out at me? How much sulfur is involved in extracting some of these telluride minerals? It's like a pyramid. Wow. That Victor gold mine, absolutely the craziest thing. They say it affects the weather. An open pit mine. Wow, high grade calbrite. That's an electrical firing part. They don't want me to get a very big picture of it. I'm moving on. So amalgam, they got to get it down to being an amalgam. You got to have an alloy of mercury with any other metal, but in our case, we're focusing on oh, formed through metallic bonding, whatever that means, right? With the electrostatic attractive force of the conduct. Wait, we're just talking about a guy with a gold pan and a donkey by the creek going like, we're rich, I tell you, rich. It's basically used for extraction of gold. Gold mercury amalgam. We'll go over some of these things. But is mercury not weird? So it's been used since the middle of the 1800s as a reflective mirror coating. Wow. It's right. It float your glass, the modern windows. We've studied that a number of times. Floats on melted tin so that it'll be level and you can pour the glass. Otherwise, it was quite a production to get a window, but it was worth it. It made, I mean, those old windows are just super cool. You got a general idea. Gold parting is the separating of gold from silver. What? Gold and silver? I thought you just walk out there and find nuggets and go buy a brand new gold pick. Miller process affords gold up to 99.5, 1867. Wow. Wow. And then they jump it up from 1867 to 1874 with this new process, which is going to be, it's poison. This is chemical poison, but you do get 99.999. So that's like if you want to buy those Coronas, right? Or double eagles, 1 ounce, 99.999. But it's not going to be any good because it's not going to do you any good unless you can afford to build these $1 million electrolytic processes using pure gold for the cathode or titanium as a starter cathode. What is that? Chloruric acid, gold chloride, hydrochloric acid as an electrolyte. I thought electrolytes are what they put in the Gatorade. I'm sure they do. I worked with a company that Gatorade was our business, man. It was the Jack Gohausen and Associates. I was its last vested employer. That seems weird. Wonder why it's stamped like that on the other side. So, we're going to get into these things. This here, alembic, weird, right? Gold parting is a big deal and it's hard. Gold cyanidation, yikes. But they already could get it 99.999. Why do you got to put, I mean, everybody knows like, don't take a cyanide pill, right? Don't breathe it. Reagents for mineral processing to recover gold represents more than 70% of cyanide consumption. That's a lot. Discovered in 1783, Carl discovered that gold dissolved in aqueous solutions. Because what else are you going to do while Ben Franklin is out flying a kite going, I wonder if electricity will shock you. Carl is over there going like, well, I think this aqueous solution can melt gold. Yes, collectively go, huh? Wow. Of course, we've been lied to, and it doesn't shock us anymore about all that. Perfected and moved on through the centuries. Then they figured out this guy who gets credit for everything It was, but he didn't know math very well. They always like to talk about that. It was determined that each atom of gold, they were already talking about that, atoms, because the Greeks mentioned it, required 2 cyanide ions. Like they even know what that is. Gold mining in Rand, South Africa, pyritic ore. This is all just a made up lie to make us understand how come they're poisoning the ground using cyanide everywhere. What's the hydrogen peroxide got in to do here? That's a good way to break down rock still, I'll tell you that. Chemical compound, it is a very pale blue liquid that is slightly more viscous than water. Now, it is a different topic. Gold extraction with mercury, amalgamation again with mercury, can be used to recover very small gold particles. And mercury is still widely used when the people are forced to do gold mining in the outskirts of wherever. Borax and mercury are, borax is replacing mercury. It is somewhat safer because people are going to refine and look for gold. That was yummy. I just took a yummy drink of the sacred herb coffee, refined. The refractory gold ore is an ore that has ultra fine gold particles disseminated throughout its gold occluded minerals. Now, getting at it, that's the hard part. You got to crush it. Hey, so much of this, I live near the El Dorados, the San Juan, and come on, man, we know what Spain came all the way over here. They knew where we lived, and when they found out that cyanide could get gold out of silver, they made one last run in the 1870s, and then they found the Ute Indians and said, wow, a tribe, here's a place up here in the middle of nowhere that we still got some Indians to kill. So they did. That's not really about gold. That was more about why we're being judged and all that. Now the patio process, you think about the Middle Ages and that prospector. Well, in the middle of nowhere, Mexico, this is the patio process. This is how you get the gold. You got to you've got to break down this mountain, and you can see we're only talking about the patio. This is the patio. Poison patio. You got the horses prancing, horses running. If you could force a slave in there, get your ass in there. You're going to die because it's filled with mercury. And it's a way the patio process is a way to extract gold. I'll just see if there's any more pictures. Well, there's an actual, see the round horses in there, no people in there. At least they weren't using people. But this is the mud after they extracted the rocks, ground them to smithereens, placed them in here with whatever they did. Let's find out. The patio process for extracting silver from ore, smelting or refining, is most often necessary because silver is only infrequently found as a native element. Like some metals, nobler than the redox, like gold and mercury. Instead, it is made up of a larger ore body. Thus, smelting or refining is necessary to produce the compound containing the Ag positive cation into metallic gold, and to remove other byproducts to get a pure silver. Okay. Developed by this, it's like looking in a mirror. You know, come on. They show you the picture, you know, so that it washes over us. Oh, that's right. There was a bunch of different, and everywhere there's the humans in the Bible, they're always going like, "Who built these cities?" And can I have it now, God? You know, if God go, yes, I'll bless you with this city, or no, I'm giving that one to the Esau. So different. You gotta, whatever it is, you gotta amalgamate. Did we look at that? 1609. We know there was a bunch of different process. Huh. New laws. You can't make slaves walk around in it anymore without giving them some money. We don't believe one bit of their history. I don't. Like if they're painting themselves to be a good guys, and as we look back, God's not judging us now because they're such good guys. This is all ridiculous. Let's see here. The amalgamation was so efficient that a refiner could turn a profit even if the ores were poor enough to yield only 1.5 ounce of silver per 100 pounds of original material of ground up powder. You're not counting the rocks and all of the other work. Wow. The excess material would be broken off of the silver ore. At the refiner, it was ground into a fine sand or an arista. We're going to look at that, I think, in particular. Or a stamp mill. So that's what, you know, that's what these and this standpipes are steam so that, you know, they could really pound it. I mean, you stamp mill, pound it, rotating shafts, pounding it. I'm really pounding the word pound. So you got 6 to 8 weeks of having your horses mixing and soaking it in the sun because you have to have that heat. So you got to have those horses or the people out there walking around in it to stir it up for 2 months. What a production. That's far away from the guy with the donkey. Like, I'm rich. Remember that guy? Then you got to wash it, strain it through a canvas bag. Let's just check and see. I'm going to look at this here.
A new Consumer Reports investigation reveals a harsh.
We're going to look at you later, dude. Is there some gold parting things here? Hey, dude.
In this video, we're going to take a look at a very old
genius
Spanish rostra.
He
We're
was.
going to take a peek.
He's from
in those gold mines.
Colorado.
We're going to talk about how ancient smelters work.
So the Lord gave me, you know, this is how I woke up, you know, like, how am I going to continue on this rock hounding gold kick I'm on? And the Lord said, do I have to do everything for you? And I'm there like, yeah, I could use a good laugh. And so he showed me this picture. Did you see it? It's like, that would never work. You can't put a cannon on a camel. Father, that's too much. I want to show you him doing the amalgam. Oops.
The gold. And this is very important to understand. And this will help you to understand what's taking place in the rostra. So what is mercury? Mercury is a...
We're close. Hey, that looked cool.
And you'll see this red color all over ancient Roman and Greek artwork. And this red was vermilion. It was kind of similar to the color of blood.
Ooh.
and blood was the source of life, right? Everything worked, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up an image of an old rasta that's been restored. And this way you sort
We're
of get
still
a visual.
focusing on the amalgam. I didn't want to show him all this stuff yet. Where's just that little thing where you were like squeezing it? Oh, there it is.
The mercury. And it's a very simple process, but they would take a cloth like this and say this is your piece of mercury. They'd put it inside the cloth. And then what they would do is they would just wring it like this and just
Sure.
squeeze it and squeeze it and squeeze it, putting that pressure in here on the mercury. And the mercury would be forced out the other end of the cloth. And this would leave behind a little gold or silver button. But this little button would still contain mercury. There'd still be small amounts of mercury trapped in here.
What are you going to do?
And to get the last bit of mercury separated from the gold, they used what's called a distillation retort. And retorts.
Oh, this is super cool because I wanted to talk about retorting.
They go all the way back to ancient times.
I'm getting ready to pause.
They found
so you can see the
retorts made
picture.
out of clay in India.
When you find out what a retort is, you're going to be like, are you kidding me? And then that would explain why they needed so much charcoal. That remember some of those coke kilns that are here in Colorado and Utah. Well, a lot of places, everywhere, I guess. They were just using massive amounts of this.
Yeah, they're thousands of years old. Your alchemists, these men,
Alchemist.
wizards that were trying to create gold in the
That's a retort. This, where my mouse is, not. This is a retort. And then you could also make them in the mountain. You can also make it, dig a hole and then form the clay out of a whole mountain. And then, so the mountain retorts. I didn't really get that. Where does it just, they're talking massive amounts if it's just going to flow out of a mountain.
Laboratories, they worked a lot with mercury, and they would use retorts. A lot of your old retorts are usually made out of copper or bronze.
So in the Bible, when we're talking about, they have no problem. They want you to go out there, whether it's iron, tin, bronze, gold, silver, anywhere in between. They had access to it from the very beginning. I mean, Aaron, well, Moses was up taking care of business for the Padre, Patron, our Heavenly Father. Aaron was doing what? Smelting, casting gold. Moses came back and turned that gold to powder and made him drink it. Let's stay focused, Mr. Paco.
Eventually, they'd be made out of glass. And you can still buy them today. You can buy retorts on Amazon. I think they're like probably 30, 40, 50 bucks. And so how a retort worked was you have this vessel, and on top of the vessel, you have what's called a neck. And
This should remind you of ampufugal lymphocanosis a little bit.
Bend around like that. And mercury has a very low boiling point. And so what happens is you put this gold button inside this enclosed vessel. It has to be enclosed because you don't want mercury escaping out. And then you apply heat to it. And
so we've already wringed it out in the wet cloth.
As this gold button would heat up, that mercury inside would flash off into a vapor, and it would rise up, and then it would hit this neck, and this neck acted as a condenser, and the mercury would cool down and turn back into a liquid, and then they could collect that liquid.
You got to recycle the mercury. That they don't give that away either. That also is a metal that had to be extracted and refined and then sold by tons of it, and then shipped from Spain over here to El Dorado.
Liquid mercury on the discharge side of that neck. And so that's how the process worked and how they were able
Thanks, man. That is so cool. Finding the patio process. Yeah, well, that's just so destructive. Also, that they could get this amalgamation, you know, and they were doing it in Peru, the United States. Forced labor, you know, was, you know, they could talk about, you know, yeah. I guess by the time we were doing it in the United States, it was like, okay, horses, you kill the horses because it takes 2 months to get this slurry ready to be, well, so the chemist, the alchemist can make it gold, you know, and it drive that price up, give that inflation because it's hard to make gold and you're going to pay for it, man. There it is, right there. That's what they mean when you're stamping out the gold. How they did it back in the day. Now, you remember the gold prospecting in that movie Deadwood? This is a Deadwood, 1881. It's not even a state. It was a territory. We hear about, well, a couple hundred people went in there with their donkeys and started extracting gold because General George Armstrong Custer, old right yellow hair, said there's gold up there, but it's for the Indians only. And the 100 and so people went up there and formed a town and said, not, I'm going to sneak up there with my donkey. No, not at all. By 1881, it was hiring people to work like the people in Peru or the Mexican smelters that had their, you know, hundreds of years of experience because Spain came over and said, the Habsburg rule you now. That's a lot of grinding. That's a lot of powder. I wonder if they used the patio. Dude is so chill with a pipe. That is so badass. Dude, golden age your ass off. That's the way to do it, man. So that's what they did, I guess. So there, I guess they were everywhere. Huh. Well, that worked, but it's not as big as that one at Deadwood. Nowhere near it. Deadwood, Deadwood. Huh. Okay. Stamping is a thing. If you know, the whole, I got a nugget. No, you didn't. There's probably, you know, not very few of those nuggets or amalgam. So there's that picture again. This is not, oh, so that's right. I'm going in reverse. I was looking at these as the Lord was there. Okay, did a show, got to bed by 11 o'clock last night. Got so much sleep. You got no excuses. Everybody wants to be like, let's praise the Lord. Okay, Father. And so, yeah, I was looking. I got to the stamp mill to show you the Deadwood thing. Keeping these in order are hard because we wanted to get to the amalgam, the combination. It's an alloy of mercury and any other metal. We're focused on the gold. Maybe liquid, soft paste turned into a button, or a solid, depending on the proportion of mercury. You got to base it on the metallic bonding because people in the Bible were smart and everybody back then knew about this. And when they talked about smelting, they knew this whole process. We have been taught that, no, it's Chester with his donkey and his gold pan. I'm rich. What do you want to do with all your money now, old timer? Oh, I'm going to buy my mom a house. No, give me a beer. I'm going to blow it playing the 5-card stud. Hey. Okay. Zinc amalgams are used to find organic synthesis. They got the Jones reducer. Hey, man, we were just learning about let us focus on retort first for a little while, so that we can, before you start getting, wow, okay. They just make it hard for the mirror coating, tin again. The Bible mentions that. Okay. I'm just, being blown away again with the, now I'm just basically, there it is. Look at that picture, dead wood. As far as it being from chemistry. Did I open that up twice? I must have. Guess we're going to hit that one whether you like it or not. I couldn't decide which ones of these to go over, and I'm thinking like, Father, we could, unless I announce I'm going for a marathon, they usually want these to, be a certain time length. And Arista. So when I was watching that man talk about the old time videos, remember our guy?
Able to separate your gold from your mercury.
He mentioned it in his thing, so I looked it up and was like, wow, it's been around since the phonics began, the Phoenician times, the whole New World thing. And it's, again, with the counting on grinding it into a powder, it's basically, it's a lot like it, but on a smaller scale. Make a paste. Just keep stirring it up and make a paste, and then somehow they knew about the retorts. But they're basically is do it with a water wheel, and they're like everything else. They're like, oh, they've got them around the world too. Yeah, they got those around the world too, because you have to use the mercury to break it down to get it onto the, that's small. How small of a powder? Well, they want it down this much, because an ion, not an anion, they think it's negative. It's considered to be negative by convention. You know what that means? They don't know. They just say every time we use it and explain it in our math, we're going to put a negative charge by it. And they're going to consider that this charge is equal and opposite to the charge of a proton, which, they're really down on the microscopic level, down on that gold mining, aren't they? Because we're talking about gold, but when they're this small, the metaatomic ion, 10 parts per million. I know that you stopped taking math classes for a reason. And that 10 parts per million, you might as well, when they go like, you understand what a Google is? And you kind of go like, I know it's big. That's what I'm using myself as an example. There's a time when we all quit taking math. I still study it. I try to say brush up, but I only consider myself good through trig. And besides that, I consider it made up and false, which is why if it was true, I wouldn't understand it. That's just what I think. Ions are small. I got there because I was studying this. I didn't go what this cation. What is it? Well, I wanted to study that, but instead I got percolate. Chemical compound is like, so this is what you know, gold because of this. And I was trying to think, how can oh wait, never mind. We're done with gold for now. One of those chemicals and those things that They cause, it's used in fertilizer. It's a, what are the things that mercury and other things can do to the ground that poisons you? And as a matter of fact, it's everywhere because it can't be removed unless you do something to it to make, when you're doing this, making new plastics. This is one of those times where I say, that's why I showed that disclaimer. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not a doctor, but we're going over the bleaching agents, fertilizers, solubility in water. We know it takes a lot to get gold, but some of these other things percolate that chemical compound. And the thing is, it's everywhere. And now it's slowly killing people, and it has been, and now it's in our foods. You know, they keep, you know, they can say it's at a safe, oh, don't worry, of course it's in your healthy baby carrots, but it's not above the safety limits our government set. The government that gave us this.
Health consequences.
It's hardly a household name, but perchlorate is a chemical that helps rockets reach for the stars and, alarmingly, also our dinner plates.
Perchlorates can enter our food and water via water that's used to irrigate the crops. It can also be contained in the plastic containers that we use to store our food.
How serious is the problem? Consumer Reports' recent tests found perchlorate in 2/3 of food samples, with the highest levels in baby and kids' food, fast food, also in boxed mac and cheese and baby rice cereal.
Oh my goodness. Can you believe how much you're going like, no, not mac and cheese. I love it. How about the kids will be fine?
Carrots. While no single serving exceeded safety limits, multiple servings throughout the day could add up to concerning levels, especially for kids.
We're concerned because perchlorate can disrupt thyroid function, potentially affecting metabolism in adults and brain development.
And based on what we studied last night, you know how important your thyroid and that whole area where the ampufugal lymphocanosis takes place is.
Have known about this problem for decades. They have been slow to act.
The EPA is now under court order to propose limits on perchlorate in drinking water by November of 2025. But Consumer Reports says there.
The Consumer Report says, I will hold my breath. Remember, we talked about the art and that the gold extraction in the silver town of Leadville, Colorado, led to Peggy Guggenheim. And then they started doing this crazy art and driving the price up to blow our minds, even though people are saying they can't do it. And then why would Hunter Biden turn to art, and how does that, you know, help him with all of, oh, he gets his money tax free? This is just an idea of the breakdown from plastic pills one day ago. Go.
And yeah, no one sees them. They are just stored in these wooden boxes. Look at them all. Oh yeah, and this guy is an international criminal, by the way. Fraud, tax evasion, 5 offshore companies. And you get a lot of these types at this strata of society too. And now the billionaires do take these paintings out for a walk once in a while, though. And there's a reason to do that. You have to remind everyone, the mass, that these are really important and unique. Paintings only have exchange value if you can get people to believe in their magic, their aura.
And they funded it all with the Guggenheim money as exposed here on Flat Earth Nation. So these companies, they're buying and selling, you know, freaky art, doing crazy things.
Offices for galleries and art lenders where clients can view, buy, and sell art. There are full-on galleries inside Freeports. You look at it in here, you buy it, These chairs are going for 70 grand and they never even need to leave the building. Now,
That chair cost you 70 grand, but don't worry, it's tax free. And
why, you ask? Here. High net worth individuals have started looking for alternatives, and many have substituted their bank account money with replacement goods, such as art, diamonds, antiques, wine, or banknotes. Art is considered
we're tying it into something I exposed and did a thesis on my first year of college, and it was blowing people's minds, saying like, yeah, that's what I believe in. I'm Alan Paco. I'm here to change your world. And I did. And I started, and it ended up with the Peggy Guggenheims in Leadville. And now we're ready to start the second year of college. Manana, and I got this in my back pocket. You think I'm not going to write about it? Do you think they don't know who I am?
a smart commodity to buy in times of economic crisis, as, in general, it holds its value over time, and in some cases, increases its value. Whoop! So not only is it a good investment, but you can also move them around tax-free because no one's looking. The goods
And how did they do it? How did the 1% do it? Well, now we're tracking them. We've got a new systematic theology. We know they added the 1,000 years. They added 2 persons to the God Trinity. They're out of their mind and they're funding it the way the Lord has shown here on Flat Earth Nation.
if you anonymously spend $90 million on a Klimt and sell it to a secret buyer for $150 million, that's the rules if you're Oprah, which she didn't want anyone to know about for some reason.
I wonder why.
And what are you going to do as a politician, huh? Send regulators after Oprah?
Yeah, Oprah, you're under arrest. That'll go over really good.
Don't know about it. They know about it because we know about it. The reason is simple. Compared to buying a Rembrandt, buying a political party is relatively cheap. So, yeah, that's how we got here. And where is here? All this got me thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about global economics,
Yes, you
but
do.
I just tried something. It's called let's call it a visual experiment. Freeport capitalism, if I'm mapping it, looks like this. The biggest free ports for art, at least, are Delaware, Geneva, Luxembourg, Monaco, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Beijing. Recently, I made a video on Formula One, and Formula One is significant here as well, in that it follows excess money around the globe because it's a sport that only exists to sacrifice excess at the altar of the dark gods. So here, and again, this is just for fun, to see what happens. This is the 2024 Formula One circuit, which I use as an indicator of where the excess money in the world is currently sitting and needs to be destroyed. And then just on a hunch, I'm going to add a few more dots to the board. I added to this map the top 10 global tax havens, more storage of that tax-free excess. Now, if you look at this map, there's a lot of overlap between the excess capital of the tax havens, of the F1 circuit, and where all the art is stored. So in name or liberal in name, because these are all just words. They're abstract, imaginary concepts. And this is where the real power more accurately lies. So that old school view, that Cold War view of who makes decisions, who's in charge, was nation state capitalism. This is heaven if you've got $100 million. So there's a top tier of art here. The really well-known stuff, the Da Vinci's, the Rembrandts, the Picassos. This is the $100 million
Can't touch
tier.
it.
And they're pretty well tracked. So this is not really what I should be focusing on. Look instead, because as you start to go down this list, the names start disappearing. And once you're down in the $20 million tier, there's thousands of paintings that we have no idea who owns, and in some cases, no idea even where they are. Now, like you, I hate taxes. I hate paying sales tax. I know.
Yeah, but dude, you're not Oprah, right? Can we all agree that that guy we were just looking at is not Oprah? All right, that's the way it is. So right at the 1 hour mark, thank you, Lord. Thank you guys for sticking around. Hola, Marcela. Hola, Sergio. Hola, Tala. Big James Braden has been in the house. I haven't been ignoring anybody. I've been busy. Hey, somebody got a little ranch? What's that all about? Oh yeah, there are nuggets. No doubt about it. And the nuggets look like living body parts that were once firing, because you are a battery operated Taurus. Hey, Joe, good to see you. So that's it. I'm going to let you go, reminding you that RJ should be back next week. He is finishing off the summer. He's going to be at the the Wisconsin Brewers baseball game. And if you look at the TV, you might see RJ there. He's going to be wearing a flat earth shirt and stuff, but probably won't be running on the field if we know our guy. It's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past because the mud flood was Armageddon. And I'm never going to tell you anything. And neither are my friends. Why would we? We are called, chosen, trying to be faithful, proving that we have your best interest at heart. Amen.